Hey guys, it's me, Pascal from Orangepixel, and he's behind me. He's back. Where have you been?
Hey,
and what are you doing?
I've been in quarantine for a year in this house, everywhere, and
You've been in quarantine for a year in this house?
I heard you're polishing.
What's that your use? Is that my Orangepixel t-shirt?
Please
stop.
Dude, don't worry. Don't. It's all fine. It's all good.
I'm just helping you polish.
Polishing.
Dude, can you stop polishing everything? I'll polish
like,
the game and I'll let you know when it's done. But please let me just go back in quarantine.
Right,
Tell me, come back in a year, please.
I'll be in quarantine.
Intro. I don't know. I'm giving up. I don't need this type of. Let's do a proper residual devlog today, because I haven't done those in like 3-4 weeks maybe. I haven't talked about residual in a non-existential crisis type of way in a couple of weeks now. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, check last week's video. By the way, I'm fine, everything is fine, it was a fun video. Today I'm going to talk about all the stuff, or at least the highlights I did in the last couple of weeks, and it's been a lot, so I think we're just going to dive straight in. So strap in, brace yourself, we're going to rush through a bunch of new things. So first thing is the load screen now has a little bit more information going on, so we also show you a preview of how this level looked. So of course I've been playing the game a lot, and I noticed that the name and this information doesn't tell me enough about the planet I was on. I need to visually see it, so now we have all this information and just show you a little preview of what the planet was that you are crashing on. So that's new information, including artifacts. How many did you find? And over here we now have a circle indicating where you are time-wise in a day. This used to say at 10:15 or 12:30 or whatever time it was of the day, but since some planets now rotate faster, they have less hours in a day, and it just didn't make sense, because 8 AM might not be the morning on this planet, it might actually be midday if the planet only has 16 hours. So this should be more clear. Time is running out on the current day. If it's it's midday, and if it's completely empty, your day is done, you're moving to the next. So extra new feature, tiny thing, important. So a few weeks ago you might remember seeing me introduce this whole galaxy view of residual. In the game you crash on a planet, a random procedurally generated planet, but all these planets are already created. A whole galaxy effect is created, or a whole universe is created with multiple galaxies, but for now there will just be one galaxy playable. That galaxy has multiple solar systems, and every solar system has an X amount of planets. I had a nice view for all that, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I completely redesigned it, and it now looks a lot better. So there's now a little bit more information. This is the first step. The galaxy, currently Proxima Galaxy, is the only galaxy playable in the game. There are a bunch of, there's actually an unlimited amount of galaxies we could create, but I want to make sure that it's not going to be overwhelming and there's not a huge amount just yet. This is already pretty much. Over here you see all the various solar systems we have available, and then here the information of the selected solar system, including all the planets that are on the solar system. 14 planets, I visited all 14 of them already. I survived none, alright, but I also unsurvived planets because this wasn't counting all the time. But to be honest, I never survived any of the planets because I haven't really played through the game that much without cheating. Moving on. And we can select the various solar systems, and you'll notice that there are smaller solar systems. This one has 3 planets, very tiny. This has 13 planets, 5 planets, 14, 5, 12. All these solar systems have a bunch of planets you can play or crash on. And let's see, here we have this solar system, the ADEC planets, or the ADEC solar system, and the planets on there are all these planets. And if you've been a Kickstarter backer, you might see your name in here, or at least the planet name, and if so, this one was discovered by J. Quincy Federini. Julius was discovered by Julius Fitzgerald von Spitzenberg III. great names, everybody. So all that information is now here, and you'll see how many hours in a day, the average temperature this planet has, if you visited before. And let me see if I can find one that I visited. I think in this I have, I visited all of them, but I'm looking for one that I actually unlocked. Because there he is. So we now also have free play mode. You need to unlock it on a certain planet. I'm not gonna spoil you how, but it's not extremely difficult, but it does require you to actually play the game and play every planet to unlock this free play mode. And it's pretty cool because that means if you start a new game, you can decide to just pick this planet and start there without having to go through a whole random, you get dumped somewhere and sort it out yourself. You can actually decide to replay a certain planet. And why would you? Good question from the guy in the back. We have artifacts on the planet. You can actually find 1 or 2 artifacts on every planet. So you might want to go back to that planet and see if you can find all the artifacts. So a lot of extra content, a lot of extra gameplay loops added to the game. And yeah, I'm very happy with all this. So for the next thing, you might also remember I added a 3rd character to the game, a little astronaut type thingy, type character. It's now locked. You need to unlock this character, and I already planned on doing it like that. Unlocking it is pretty easy. There's not a huge amount of steps required. It just requires the player to play the game. So everybody who gets into this game and really likes it, enjoys it, you will unlock this character pretty easily. And for some it might be a lot faster than for others, but you will be able to unlock this character. Not a huge amount of brain power required. So just a lot of extra gameplay loop is added to the game in the recent weeks. Alright, so these are all the images I'm using in Residual, and you might notice that this guy from Ashworld, and we have some space grunts here, we have some weird crystals, we have some rockets, and there's a bunch more football helmets, heroes of loot, dice, amulets, rubber duckies. What are these things doing in Residual? Well, these are all the artifacts in the game that you collect on the planet. Like I just said, every planet can have 1 or 2 artifacts. Every planet has at least 1, and a maximum of 2. And you'll be able to find these, and it's been a lot of fun because they're inside a container that you need to open in some way. Again, not gonna spoil that. Once you have it open, an artifact, a random artifact pops out, and it's been fun trying to collect them because you never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolate. Anyway, artifacts are now in the game, and I still need to create a bunch more. I need to double the amount of artifacts I have right now, but it's pretty much just random objects and items I'm grabbing from my other games and other stuff, and they'll be added in the game as an artifact, which is a lot of fun. And while we're in this graphic set, there's now a huge amount of creature bodies. The intern has also been creating a bunch of these, so there's now a nice collection, and we're adding a couple more heads, and it's pretty amazing. Let me show you in the game how it looks. And you might remember that the computer actually creates these creatures. So what you get is like a huge variation of different type of creatures. So we now get a lot of variation in these creatures. It pretty much, and yeah, there are some bugs in this little code, but this is just a tool to check things. Some of these bodies originally don't have a tail, so that's why it's sometimes failing. But the game pretty much combines the head with a body and a tail, and all these things have temperatures and preferences. So depending on the type of planet, certain creatures will appear and others won't. So it's also a lot of fun finding new combinations of heads and bodies and tails, and you can scan them for your Residex in a database and keep track of where you found certain creatures for the first time. And we'll be adding more heads to it, so there will be even more variation. And I might create a couple of extra bodies because it's a lot of fun seeing these creatures walk around. And speaking of these creatures, some of them will now bite you, or at least if they get near you, they prefer meat. And there's not a lot of variety on these planets, so you're pretty much the most interesting piece of meat on that planet. It's very easy to get away from these creatures. They're not as fast as you are, so you can just run around and get rid of them. But if you get near them or a whole herd by accident, you will get bitten. And it won't kill you, not directly, not just 1 or 2 bites, but it will decrease your health a little bit. So they can now bite you, attack you a little bit, and they're just fun. So as you can tell by now, I've been very busy the last couple of weeks. And there's more. I'm not done yet. There's a lot more. I also added new areas for the player to sort of light puzzling moments that you can explore and need to interact and need to figure out. And it's not extremely difficult to figure out because I don't like games that throw puzzles at you. I'm not into puzzle games. That's probably the best way to describe it. So there are very light puzzle type moments or little things you need to do, tasks you need to do to advance in the level. Let me just show you two of the new ones. So without spoiling too much, this is one of the new areas. We have a stone or a pushable thingy. We have some switches. And we have a locked door. And pretty much this is a new area you'll encounter in the game. I'm not gonna do it all here now because that might spoil it for some people. But it's a fun little area. So this is another area, and let me just brighten it up a little bit because it's a dark area. Luckily, I know how to make fire. All right, so give me a torch. We have some blocks over here, and of course we have some lock mechanics over there. And like I said, it's not a very difficult challenge. This is not really a puzzle. This is more a challenge to run around quickly enough. And little areas like that are now my main focus, besides building out some of these interface screens. But I want to add more of these little interactions because I think that creates just a lot more gameplay and a lot more variety and will entertain players a lot more. And very important to have that. And finally, or at least for this video, because there's a very long list of a bunch of things I've been working on. These are all the main stuff. The last one I want to talk about is all the lore. All the text and stuff you encounter in the game that slowly tells you the story of what happened here. Why is there technology on a distant planet that apparently nobody lives on? What happened here? What happened on all these planets? And there is a whole story for that. It's not a very deep story, but there's enough there to create interesting bits and pieces from. And that's what I've been doing. There's a lot of text here. Little spoiler alert, gonna show you very briefly some of this text. So if you don't want to read about all of this just yet and want to find out in the game, close your eyes until I say to open them again. Trust me. So all this text here is for localization. It's all specific. This is just mission details and options. And then over here we have all this lore coming up. And besides lore, we also have the hologram stuff. So there's a bunch of text here that you can run into, and that's about it. I'm not going to show you anything else. So if you've been closing your eyes, open them. All right, so that's pretty much the key stuff that I've been working on. There's a bunch of other options and features and changes and fixes and things I've been working on. Obviously, I have about 100 things I could talk about, but a lot of that is just very tiny stuff and work. And if you want to read up on all that, I post a little update on the Orangepixel website every week and on the Steam page as well. It contains all the changes I did that week. So it's been a lot. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's just end this video with a couple of comments on last week's YouTube video. And notice this one. I finally got one with my logo on there, which was a bit of a problem because it wasn't accepted due to a copyright problem. So I had to actually convince them that this is my logo. Long story, I got one. Anyway, let's check the YouTube video. Let's check some comments on last week's video. Timothy, bro, no need to worry, this game is gonna be great. I hope you're right. It's been very interesting to see all the responses to Residual and all the feedback and the emails and the private messages, the Discord, the comments on the videos. I think this is the first game where so much is happening around the game before it even gets released. So I think that's a good thing, probably. All right, what's your favorite day of the week? I think that's Tuesday. On Monday, I do a lot of administration stuff and admin stuff and work half speed, like do a bunch of boring things I usually don't want to do. But on Tuesday is the first day I can get back to work on Residual. And I just like that a lot. And sometimes I'm not very productive on Tuesday, but most of the time I am because I'm full of ideas and haven't worked on the game for a couple of days. So I think right now, during this game, during this process, Tuesday is my most favorite day of the week. And Wednesday, because then we eat fried chicken and self-made applesauce, and I just love that. So, but Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on if it's about food or not. Moving on. Hey Orangepixel, I like to see a video of your beginning develop story. Search on the YouTube channel for 15 years and I think you'll find that video where I pretty much talk about everything from the start of Orangepixel up to 1 or 2 years ago. So that's pretty much my origin story, I guess. The Orangepixel origin story, coming to a theater near you pretty soon because there's nothing else in theaters right now, so why not? Anyway, the start of my journey as Orangepixel was very different from a journey you'll start now. The game business market was just in a very different state and indie game dev wasn't a term used at all, and there was no Apple iPhone, there was no Android smartphones, it was a different state, a different game. So I don't think that's comparable to anything you're going to be experiencing now. When you release on iOS, what happens if the game title selects already reserved by someone else? I don't think Apple even checks that. So you probably can just create that game and it's just going to be very confusing to gamers and end users. But yeah, normally I just really try to come up with a name and make sure it doesn't exist on any of the game stores anywhere before I settle on it. So, and that's why finding a game name is extremely difficult. You are handling that Trello list like a pro. Yeah, I'm almost professional. Again, it's great to see the issues one might encounter when diving into game making. Thanks for the video. You're welcome. And I know a bunch of people are asking about my Trello every now and then, so every now and then I show it. And I'm not sure what you should get out of it, but this is how I use my Trello. And if you want to know how, then check last week's video. Your cam went in and out of focus in the Trello sec. Yeah, I use autofocus on the camera pretty much because that makes my life a lot easier when filming everything and all these angles. I don't have to worry about it because the Sony is very well at handling focus. The problem is, of course, if I do this in front of the camera, in front of text, it will just decide that my hand is more important than text behind it. I just have to try and keep that in mind when I shoot like that, and autofocus is just a lot easier on vlogging. What are your monthly expenses as a software developer, server software? I don't have a lot of monthly expenses. My server, my website, I think with all the domains attached to it, Gunslugs, Heroes Loot, Groundskeep, Space Grunts, things like that, I think I'm at 200 euros a year, which is not a lot. And besides that, I don't have software subscriptions. I think that I don't like that at all. Knowing that all these Adobe software tools, you need to subscribe to use it. I know why Adobe does it. I'm just, as a user, I'm very much against that. That it just doesn't make sense to me to constantly pay for such things. I do have a Google subscription for some extra Google Drive space, but that's just all very easy. And besides all those things, I don't have a lot of expenses. Free software everywhere. I already started on the sequel for you. Cool, I'll be contacting you once Residual is out, and we'll talk about licensing fees and all that stuff. You're doing great, man. Don't stress too much. Oh, don't worry, I'm not stressed too much. I'm nervous every now and then, but it's a good kind of nervous, if that makes sense. It keeps me excited and full of energy and keep working on the game. So I'm nervous, but it's a good nervous. Color filters on Stardash, everything is good though. Yeah, I know a lot of people want Stardash or new Stardash or a sequel to Stardash, but not gonna happen, probably. I think this nervousness is an indication of something amazing coming. Did you feel the same releasing? I usually have these nerves with every game, especially the longer you've been working on a game, the more nerves you have when it's time to release it. But yeah, I noticed there's a bunch of stuff happening around Residual that is different from my other games and previous games. I also think the YouTube channel is actually a big cause of that. I'm reaching out to a lot of other people who are finding out about Residual and me as a developer in such a way that hasn't happened before. So stuff is happening around the game and it's all pretty cool. Let's hope it also all translates into a huge success. Your inspiration for me, I'm an aspiring game developer and watching your videos keep me motivated, please. I can't promise I won't ever stop, but for now I'm still having a lot of fun with these videos. And just the replies and all the feedback from these videos is also, it's crazy how many people I'm inspiring to be a game developer or to do game development or to work more with art, and that's pretty cool to hear. So keep those messages coming. I think you have a great title in your hands. Can't wait to give it a try once you release it. I agree, and you should really try it by then. And Primoz, you got this. Thanks, buddy. Let's hope so. And that's it for this week's video. So let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Like, subscribe, comment below, notification bell, all that stuff. Jump on the Discord. There's a bunch of fun chatter there. And I think we have a bunch of people ranging from 16-year-old to 50 or 60-year-old. There's a huge variety in the Discord. So come hang out and see you next week. All right, bye. I'm getting a phone call. Hang on. Yeah. All right. That was my wife. Moving on.